Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Wayfinder series. My name is Kitsiphi Leone, and I will be the one chairing this session. Sorry, I will be the one chairing this session for today. So, today we have a discussion from a number of people from the library. They will be giving us information about acquiring the information in the library system and also share information about the useful AI tools in the library. So the discussion that we are going to have, it's from Ms. Cornell Skeltema van Beek, Mr. Lee Goliath, and Mr. Vuyo Ngayeka. So Ms. Cornell Skeltema van Beek is responsible for the Digital Scholarship Center and the Makerspace here in the library, and her work in the digital scholarship allows her to discover and investigate new ways of doing and supporting research, including the research of AI. Collaborative projects with other divisions at the UFS, like the Interdisciplinary Center for Digital Futures, commonly known as the ICDF, they provide opportunities for the library to develop research and support services and contribute to institutional policies. Cornell is also a maker and managing the makerspace provides an opportunity to create awareness around making sustainable practices and innovation. Her research includes interdisciplinary projects with health sciences on using simulation-based education for upskilling librarians, and her PhD project on open science at the UFS. And then our second speaker who will follow after Ms. Cornell is Mr. Lee Goliath, who is a designated faculty librarian in the humanities. He has keen interest in fostering sustainable collaboration between the library and the rest of the UFS community. He also has a passion for technology, which supports information literacy development, and he has participated in Carnegie CPD program, enhancing librarians' ICT skills for research enablement in African universities. And he has represented the UFS Library and Information Services in the Erasmus Staff Mobility Program internationally. He is also employed in a secondary position in the Department of Housing and Residence Affairs as a residence head. Mr. Lee Goliath developed a new interest in how AI can assist information librarians with routine tasks and how AI can assist students in finding credible sources for their assignment. So he is the person to go to. And then lastly, we have Mr. Vuyo Ngayeka, who is a dedicated researcher and research and scholarly communication librarian with a passion of facilitating knowledge and exchange platforms like GovC Scholar, Figshare, and support of academic endeavors. He is armed with a background in ICT and has an undergrad in library information science, and also an honors in humanities, which was in anthropology. Currently, he has a great interest in data science, including AI and data analytics. Mr. Vuyo is committed to empowering researchers and scholars in their quest for information discovery and dissemination. With extensive experience in academic libraries, he specializes in scholarly communication platforms. He is also a strong advocate for open scholarships, and believes in the transformative power of making research output openly accessible to the global community. In his role as a research and scholarly communication librarian, Mr. Vuyo is dedicated to staying abreast and emerging ICT trends and development in scholarly communication platforms. So, for this session, yes, we do have three presenters. I just want to highlight that throughout the session, for anyone who has a question or something like that, you can just write the question in the comment section, and then after the presentation, the speakers will read the comments and then answer the questions accordingly. So without talking for a long time, I would like to hand over to Mrs. Cornell to start with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sepi, and Thank you to everyone attending today. I'm really very privileged to work with CEPI and the ICDF in hosting the seminar series and the AI sandboxes. And I cannot recommend attending these enough. The amount that I've learned about the positives and the negatives of AI in higher education, and also in a wider context, really is invaluable. Today, I would like to start this seminar by giving a rather a broad, more strategic overview of what we currently see happening in libraries with AI. And as with all new developments, we do need to ask ourselves a few questions. So what we do need to ask is, how can AI technologies be effectively integrated into library services to benefit our users, but also to support our library staff? How can AI improve the user experience for library patrons, including access to our resources, navigation of our library collections and of our spaces, personalized services? What measures should libraries take to ensure the ethical and responsible use of patron data in AI applications while we safeguard user privacy? How can libraries address issues of algorithmic bias and ensure that AI technologies are accessible and inclusive for all our users? What training and professional development opportunities are needed to prepare our library staff for working with AI technologies? How can libraries collaborate with, for example, other institutions, our researchers, our research centers, even industry partners to advance the development and implementation of AI in libraries? And then also, what are the potential long-term implications of AI for the future of our libraries, including maybe changes to staffing models, resource allocations, and really the nature of our library services as well. What I would also like to share with you is the types of services in libraries that might benefit from integrating AI. So first of all, with our metadata services, and that would include our cataloging department that catalogs our books, electronic resources, different digital assets, metadata that we add to our repositories, like the institutional repository, our research data repository, and different other platforms. With metadata tagging, we can, or AI algorithms can automatically analyze and tag metadata for these digital assets, like images, documents, and that improves the searchability and discoverability of our collections. By automating these metadata tagging processes that can then help us to more efficiently manage the digital holdings and provide better access to them. And this, of course, will benefit our researchers, our historians, if you look at our archival collections, and the general public as well. And our archives can definitely attest to the very time-consuming process that is adding metadata to digitized collections as well. Another example of AI in metadata is where you can use AI to automatically extract and then enrich the metadata of our digital resources. And then that can also improve search accuracy and more efficient retrieval of our resources. We can also look at chatbots. Our Library and Information Sciences has a chatbot called TUSO 130. It's not yet AI driven, but AI-powered chatbots use natural language processing to understand user inquiries and then provide the relevant information. So from library hours to resource availability and even research assistance. And this real-time kind of support can enhance user engagement and satisfaction especially when you start thinking about limited staff, limited human staff. Very importantly, AI can also help us in our digital preservation efforts. So AI algorithms can be employed to analyze and assess the condition of our digital collections. It can help us detect deterioration or degradation of those digital assets. And it could also help us prioritize resources for preservation efforts. And of course, then this can help us with providing long-term access to our digital holdings and its integrity as well. AI tech can also be used in libraries to develop recommender systems for personalized resource recommendations. AI algorithms can analyze our user preferences, their behavior, their usage patterns, and then this can generate tailored recommendations for library resources like books and articles and databases. And again, by offering the personalized recommendations, libraries can then enhance user engagement and discovery of relevant resources, supporting research, teaching, learning activities. So I'm sure my colleagues will share some of their experiences as well. In literature searching, for example, my own experience was very interesting and very useful as well. And then libraries can also use AI tech for text analysis and data mining. Use it for in our library system, scholarly publications, the research data sets, for example, and the insights that you can extract from that can help you identify trends, analyze relationships within those large volumes of textual data. So that can also aid research, knowledge discovery, various aspects. And we do want to support research excellence and innovation in our community, and also help to foster interdisciplinary collaboration. So that would be a huge asset as well. AI can also help us support our users with disabilities. So you've got AI-driven tools such as voice recognition, text-to-speech, AI-powered search and recommendation systems, and many other developments that can help our users with disabilities. We can also look at like a library assistant, so an AI-powered tool that we can use to enhance library operations and services. So you can think of like a smart assistant that can use machine learning algorithms to analyze library usage patterns, optimize our resource allocations, improve our collection development strategies, for example. And by leveraging these analytics, we can gain insight into our users' behaviors, their preferences, trends within our library, and then using them to tailor our services and resources to better meet the needs of our community. All of you have also probably seen library robots roaming the library corridors and stacks at different libraries. We can look into that, but we can also look at robotic process automation that performs routine admin tasks like data migration, shelf management, processing forms, and even marketing. And we can also look at automated storage and retrieval systems that use robotics to retrieve books on demand from other storage facilities, mass storage facilities. And this is very relevant to us because libraries overall are moving from being spaces for our users to work in, to study in, to collaborate in, rather than just being a space for stacks of books. Something that I think is also important in the library setting with regards to AI, because we focus on literacy, on information literacy, that now includes digital literacy, is AI literacy. And this is about understanding its function, logic and limitations, and of course the potential impacts that it will have as well. And when libraries help patrons gain AI literacy, they provide them with the skills needed to confidently participate and engage with a society that is already employing more and more artificial intelligence tools and processes each day. Of course, we should always keep the ethical implications in mind of AI. And I think the best approach to addressing the ethical implications of AI in libraries involves adopting a comprehensive and a proactive strategy that prioritizes ethical considerations throughout the whole life cycle of AI, its development, deployment, and its governance. And that is why working towards a UFS policy and a national policy is so important for our development as a library in the AI environment. And I'm very eager now to hand over to my colleagues because I am sure that they have a lot more interesting things to say about AI in the libraries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, colleagues, and thank you for the privilege to be able to share some insights from a librarian perspective. Okay, so thank you for the brief introduction, program director, and thank you to Cornell for setting the platform. And I would like to say that it's a quite interesting era that we've gone into, and I think what conscientized us even more is the projects that the DSC has been running with the AI sandboxes, and I really encourage colleagues to attend it because it's a world we don't know of or never knew of until we are exposed at the AI sandboxes on AI. So when we think of AI in general, or when you speak to your normal user as a student, the first thing that comes to mind with a student and an academic, and that's my personal experience, is ChatGPT. They associate AI with ChatGPT. But we know that there are many other platforms. So the moment we start having these discussions in the different spaces on campus, the first thing that comes up with is ChatGPT. But I'm going to share my presentation now. And colleagues, please feel free to ask questions or correct me. I just want to see the screen. Okay, so there's my presentation, and I'm information librarian, and I'm looking at AI in the library from the lens of an information librarian and my own daily practices after being introduced to different AI tools. So from my view, and I would like to start it off with the statement that as the world of academic research evolves, artificial intelligence is playing a crucial role in enhancing efficiency and precision. So today, or on this presentation, I'd like to explore how AI tools can revolutionize your search for peer-reviewed articles. And the thinking behind this is the everyday inquiries we get from students. Despite the intense training we provide to students in classes, through embedded programs, one-on-one sessions, a student will still come back and they need more help. And one wants to think, but why would a student, when they already knows how to use a keyword on an academic database, still need help? So just waiting, let me see if I go to the next slide. So there is a debate currently about AI, and Cornell did touch on the ethical use of AI. And last week we attended a session where there are concerns about AI and academic writing, rightfully so. But when I started preparing for this presentation to talk about the information librarian and how AI can assist the information librarian, and then look at the opportunity or the possibility of training students on using AI to find peer-reviewed articles. I was quite surprised to come across um, this specific article and many other articles where they talk about AI-assisted peer review. So we're sitting with the challenge that academics are discouraging students to use AI. They're encouraging students to write and to publish, yet the academics themselves as peer reviewers have the option of using AI to assist in peer review. So that was quite interesting to me when we start these conversations about using AI and in which spheres, if I may call it that way, is it acceptable. So at the end of the day, we'd like to publish, we'd like to have an assignment, and there's already a tool that can assist with the peer reviews. These articles I can share, I just put this here for demonstration purposes, that reviewers already are using AI to help them to review an article which was where they were discouraged, where they discouraged people from using AI. And then from the other perspective is um, what does the literature say about this? Because obviously, because we're in an academic world, we would like to always gauge our thinking, our arguments on what does the current literature say about AI and using AI for as a search tool um, for students and for researchers. And I also came across this interesting article where they speak about the emerging artificial intelligence tool useful for researchers, scientists, and librarians. So when I'm speaking today, I'm speaking from a librarian perspective that how can AI assist the librarian? What is daily tasks? We'll later on look at will it then be advisable to share the same skill with the student to do what the librarian will do with AI? Um, so already out there, there are many, many, many AI tools which can assist a librarian to find peer review articles for their users, for the researchers, for the students, undergraduates, postgraduates. And some of them are the semantic scholar, illicit. That's something we explored in one of the sandboxes. There's another one, explain paper. And I just want to go to the next slide. Umata. These are all tools that can be used to support or assist the librarian to be able to find peer-reviewed articles. Now, our current practice is we use our Boolean operators. We do what I call or refer to as a manual search within a database, be it a straightforward search or an advanced search using the Boolean operators. And in these platforms, um, like Umata, Skyspace, and the ones I've spoken before, they have the same uh, functionality. The, the advantage of is in these platforms you can use natural language. Where my experience is with the users that they even try to use natural language within the academic databases. And that after training is provided and guidance is provided, in your academic databases that you use uh, keywords and you use concepts. So there are a bit of advantage of if you had to use a AI platform that you can still use your natural language. So then it comes to four. Now that we know there are platforms that can assist the librarian to find information, obviously the platform is going to guide you, it will give you the titles, and you will then go find it on your academic databases. If you do not have direct access through something like Google Scholar, because many in my searches, when I've applied these, it will guide me and say that the article is available, but when you try to access it through a normal platform, it will take you to a paywall. However, if you take that same title and you put it into our discovery tool that we're using, you then have free access to it. So, like with the library and AI tools, that is already literature, there's already research done on it. There's a lot of research done on the ethics of using artificial intelligence in academic research and education, and quite interesting views, by the way, on the, on the different angles and from the different perspectives of people. Some will speak for, others will speak against. But we note, like in this book, I mean, it's a handbook of academic integrity. So it boils down to the integrity of your work at the end of the day. And is using AI ethical? So I was just wanting to alert at this stage about the art, the literature that's already out there addressing these concerns. So, as a librarian in my everyday work, a student will contact me either via email, via Ask a Librarian. They'll provide you with a research topic. They'll say, honors level, this is my research topic. Please, can you help me find credible sources? Now, remember, a research topic is a research topic. As a librarian, I do not have the background or the understanding of what do you want to achieve with this topic, because a topic that, that I see, a 1 or 2 line topic, will not address how I approach my service or how I approach the search. Then you might probe further and the student will say to you, but these are the keywords I'm looking at. So I'll then obviously take the keywords and I'll put it into the academic database. And whatever I find there, whether relevant or not, that is what I share with the with the student, because I don't understand the background um, of the topic. Now, remember, as librarians, we work in different subject fields. Now, in the humanities, we have many different subject fields, although interdisciplinary. But what is meant in sociology might not have the same meaning in philosophy or in political science, using the same terms. So um, we'll get inquiries about sources, which sources are available, which books are available. We get inquiries about accessing academic articles. That could now be more from a technical perspective. And then also, if there are resources that we do not have, how do we get that? That's the everyday life of a librarian. And it becomes overwhelming because you have to sometimes answer the same answer the same question to different students with the same assignment. Although you had them in a class, you explain how we do our searches, but they need that personal touch of trying to understand their own topic. So what I've done in most cases when it's not clear for the student what he needs, although he's got the articles, he doesn't know how does he compile these articles. I'll then ask him, send me your study guide so I can get a better understanding. So that is a very time consuming process, because at the end of the day, it's one thing just finding articles and sending it to a student. The question is, was those articles helpful? And that we don't always get feedback on. So here's a typical example. I get a an inquiry from a sociology third year student. I've been in the class. I've explained how we do searches. We're using our discovery tools. We're using our different databases. We even uh, direct them to JSTOR um, and to Emerald and to these platforms and say, you can, on these individuals, on SAE publications, on the ebook platform, on our COPSICAT. We do all that training. And then just through Ask a Librarian, the student will ask, may I please have books, articles, journals that define cultural industry and go into details about characteristics. Now, this student expects the librarian to help. Now, the librarian needs a bit of background because, in the first place, what I teach or what I'm supposed to be teaching is do a keyword search for the student. So immediately my eye picks up cultural industry and immediately it will pick up characteristics. But this student is expecting more from me now. And he's saying, and I must go into details about the characteristics of his topic, cultural industry. Obviously, I cannot leave the student in the dark. I have to give him something. I can obviously invite him or her, to the office and say, "Give me more. Give me. Let's analyze this." But that is very time consuming. It's the ideal because we want to see the student being successful. But unfortunately, we just don't have that time. So the librarian must now try to understand the concept. You must try to search for information that's providing a definition in this case because they ask for a definition. The librarian must sit and determine the synonyms on this inquiry. And then obviously I'll do a keyword search on cultural industry and characteristics because that is what the student is expecting from the librarian. And he even gives an instruction. He tells me to go into detail, despite him knowing he's how that the keyword search should do. So that's one example. Now, in this case, I go and I say, yes, cultural industry and characteristics. I use advanced search on our current platform, Copycat, and then I'm surprised with what I find. It tells me about the Sage Handbook of Digital Technology. Obviously, somewhere cultural industry and the characteristics are within the content, ceramics and Spanish conquest. Now, when a student does this, they're immediately confused. I can actually go and I can go click on the title and I'll see, okay, this is where the word appears and so on. But because students want quick fixes, and don't have the time or maybe the tolerance to want to read, to them immediately they say, but sir, there's nothing about cultural diversity in the search. It was just a screenshot. And I want to agree with the student because from my undergrad first year, this doesn't make sense to you. Then I go and I do a search, same search, cultural industry and characteristics on our discovery platforms. And the first two articles I get because I've applied filters. I said I only want uh, the journal articles. It must be the last 10 years. It must only be in English. Um, I applied those two. And then this was what I found. That was the first two articles, study on development part of rural and so on. And then they talk about phase transition characteristics. So it's still not what the student is looking for. But the student himself is trying to understand how does cultural diversity and what is the characteristics. Now, I've gone as far as telling the student, can you tell me what your prescribed book is? Can you please bring me your study guide so I can get some context so I can help you correctly? Because obviously our keyword search we're teaching the student is not giving the student what he wants because there's no context in this. I then say to myself, let me use one of the AI generated search platforms. And I intentionally did not include which one I used. It was definitely not ChatGPT. And as a librarian, I don't understand all the subject areas. I don't have a knowledge of all the subject fields, but I have the knowledge of how to find information. So I did a simple search on the platform and I said, what is cultural industry and its characteristics? I asked the platform, and it immediately responded. And it also then immediately gave me what the other terms are of creative industry. So now I had the advantage of saying, let me go back and do a search on creative industry because the student themselves didn't know that cultural industry and creative industry could be the same thing. So it takes me back. I go back to Copycat, I go back, and then I might find something, but it's still not relating the characteristics to me. Now, colleagues, this, as I'm explaining it, this is what takes you about an hour to try and figure out what the student needs, and it takes the students time. Whereas if I had in the first place, just went to one of the platforms and asked the question so that I understand and the student understands, and it went and break it down for me immediately. The platform said to me, the characteristics of cultural industry include, now there are about 9 cultural industry characteristics. This assists the librarian now to go do a search on cultural industry and on maybe individually what are their characteristics. So it in a matter of a half a minute, I could get context and understand what cultural industry is or creative industry. Whereas when I was doing what we currently do, it took me much longer to try and understand, and I would have actually had to read deeper. So the question then arises: um, do I go ahead as a librarian doing a keyword search string as we traditionally know it, and are we getting the relevant articles? Because we do send these articles to the student, but we never know. We don't get feedback and say, thank you, this was helpful or not helpful. The student just feels he was helped because he's got assignments. So, doing the keyword search or the manual string search, as I call it, um, does give one a limited scope. Now, it has worked for us. It can still work if you have the time and if you have to delve deeper. Um, and what I picked up in some of the articles, the keywords knowing synonyms. We realized that some researchers will refer to let's say uh, the sky or something. I can't get to a proper example, but sky versus universe. So the problem is the keywords may not capture all aspects of a topic when I'm doing a keyword search. If an article doesn't use the exact keywords you search, you might miss it. Like in the example we just used, cultural diversity and its synonym, which we didn't pick up what we're looking to. There's obviously also a subjectivity of challenges when we're doing keyword searches, and then the evolution of language and how language is applied, especially now with our second language users. Now, the benefit of AI academic searches that I just illustrated now when I use the AI platform, I got a more comprehensive feedback. Whether it's correct or not, at least gave me an understanding. AI uses efficient search algorithms, and it says your AI powered search enhance precision and recall, and they can identify relevant articles based on keywords, and it takes it one step further: citations and semantic similarity. Whereas when the librarian is doing the search, we focus on a keyword, and that's what we get back. The AI generated search even relates citations and the semantic similarities. So it gives you a bit more in lesser time, if I may put it that way. And then you can it does a semantic search. And in the platforms I've used so far, when I do a keyword search, the responses I get already has analytics based on the specific articles that I retrieve. It already gives me the analytics to say that it's been cited so many times and referred to and so on. Whereas doing the manual search, I find the article, but I don't know how relevant it is, um, or how what its impact is. Okay, so that's the difference between doing a manual search and an AI generated search. Now to carry on, the question then comes and arises: does the librarian continue doing the searches, or does the librarian introduce AI tools? Do I continue using the keyword search as we knew it, having the experience that the AI tools does the same job in a shorter time and gives me more information? But we also know that at the university and between ourselves, we still are of the perspective or that that it's unethical or not ethical to use. Okay, so what can AI do that the librarian cannot do, and vice versa? So those are the questions I, on my daily work, do and say, if I'm doing this search, if I'm doing this support, what can AI do that the librarian cannot do? Or what can the librarian do that AI cannot do? I must admit, I've done a search manually versus AI. AI gave me what I was looking for, but manually I was able to retrieve many more articles. Whether they were relevant, um, that that's now for the researcher to go and have a look and read through it. So those are the questions that arise when we trying to compare using AI tools or doing the traditional way that we used to do it. And then I think further questions will be for discussion is how does AI impact or affect the librarian? Now, when we speak of natural language, my experience once again when students walk in, they will indicate to you, but I use Google Scholar. And in Google Scholar, we know it's natural language. But we also know that Google Scholar will retrieve some of the items that we would have um, retrieved with a keyword search on the academic database. Google Scholar does host a lot of these around the academic basis. Now, this is just a background on the user behavior. So, do we try to enforce behavior change, um, or do we go with natural language? Is the question I ask myself from the librarian perspective. Now, those were my personal experiences with the AI and information searches. So that's the one challenge with the student. How do I help the student? What's working best? What's more efficient or effective? What's more time consuming? The other challenge is the librarian and the academic. So when we get into classes and speak to students and try to guide them and tell them, but you might want to use tool 1, 2, 3 to be effective. Some academics are still not comfortable with AI. So they discourage AI completely. But I understand from which point they're coming from the academic writing perspective, which I would myself not encourage either. You cannot use AI for academic writing. But I would encourage using AI to retrieve relevant sources. And then the question comes now that we still don't have the buy-in or the go-ahead from our academics. How do we teach a student to use AI tools to find relevant sources? And we also have the obligation. We have academic databases, but which are keyword and concept bound and not natural language compatible, if I may call it that way. So at the end of the day, a librarian has the obligation to teach a student how to find relevant articles. And my argument is AI can assist with that. What do we do? I went as far as doing a SWOT analysis in conclusion on AI and the librarian. Now, yeah, I'd just like to read through it quickly. The strengths of using AI. It's efficient information retrieval. AI algorithms can swiftly search and retrieve relevant academic articles, saving time for the librarians and users. And my own experience, it can take you up to an hour to sit and do a search for a student. Personalization, obviously, if you are subscribed to one of these platforms, like with our current databases that we use, if you create a profile, that it can alert you, it personalizes it, it lets you know what you're busy with. But at undergraduate level, a student might be doing an assignment in one semester and it's done with and over. It's not an ongoing research project. And then it also provides data analysis. Now, Cornell mentioned in a opening about the bias, and this is something that I am challenged myself because when I do a search for a student, I'm doing it from my bias. If he is speaking about cultural diversity, I understand cultural diversity or cultural industry different than the student does because he's got a textbook that guides him. So there'll always be a bias on how I understand it. I also, the weaknesses is the lack of the contextual understanding, but this we'll share. And the big thing and the last discussion we had online was dependency. So we teach students to use a platform for the benefit of getting relevant academic articles, but then the student becomes over reliant on that. So that's the weaknesses of the opportunities. Obviously, The librarian will have the opportunity to enhance the user support because it takes less time using it, um, use more innovative services, and it will also allow you to collaborate with researchers, the trends. And that's what we also heard in the opening. Will AI fully, or if AI fully automates routine tasks, like we were talking about the chatbot and so on, will it replace the librarians? Or will we have to um, reskill as librarians to be able to support AI? Um, there's privacy concerns, obviously, and then the biggest threat is the resistance to change. Where my personal experience is that it's working, it's more effective for me. Somebody else might feel, we have to stay with the manual way of doing things, and yet not maybe achieving. Colleagues, that I conclude with, and I want to thank you very much uh, for the platform where I could share my experience with AI as is. Thank you.
That was very informative. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Without taking much time, I would hand over to Mr. Vuyo.
Right. Thank you, Program Director. Let me quickly share my presentation. Right. Well, I decided actually to come up with that topic. Initially, when I was invited, I thought to myself, wow, um, when it comes to AI, we've got quite a number of things that we can talk about, in relation to AI. But and then I thought to myself, well, a lot of people have done research about it, and even my colleagues, Cornell talked about it. Lee just, spoke about it as well. But in my case, I wanted to, just to share a few tools that are AI driven that I believe, scholars or students might actually benefit on or from, while they are doing their, research. But of course, before you do anything, it's expected of, you to actually, go just a little explaining what, AI is. And for me, I took some, definitions from articles that I checked online. And I must say, when I started, I had about, I think, 15 or 16 slides, explaining, trying to explain AI and all the, pros and cons. But then I was like, nah, this is crazy. Let me just take a few. But because the aim is not to just explain, but to showcase what AI can actually do for you, maybe as a librarian or as a student or maybe as a lecturer, whatever the case. So I took a few, definitions online, and one of them was Helm and other crazy guys. The publication was talking about artificial intelligence, and it began to say initially artificial intelligence was simple theory of human intelligence that is being exhibited by machines. Uh, you know, not like more like taking one's brain and putting it into a machine, like a simulator. So whatever you think you want to do as a human being, as intelligent as you are, and then you put those nice ideas into a machine and have it perform them, independently. So that's the kind of, AI we're talking about. And that's the general definition of AI. And, they actually go on to say in today's era, with the rapid, advancement of technology, AI has transitioned from mere theory to tangible application on an unprecedented, scale, which means that it has actually advanced, more than we can actually imagine. That's how crazy things have become now, becoming nowadays. You go online, what you used to get, you actually get thousand or million times what you will actually get. You put on, a keyword within a platform, but then it gives you more sources, a lot of sources, which means, technology is evolving as we speak every now and then. That human intelligence is now inside a tech, a machine. It can actually even create content, new content based on, user queries and so on. That's artificial intelligence within a machine. And then you've got Schwed, who states that when policymakers, now I actually picked this up because as much as they were explaining about AI, but then this one, interested, it gave, or let me say, it attracted me a little because they were talking about regulating AIs. And I will just read it through so that you understand better. But then they said, um, when policymakers want to regulate AI, they must first define what AI is. And then they go on to say, however, legal definitions differ significantly from definitions of other disciplines because they're talking about regulating something. So, in order to regulate something, you can't just regulate because they claim that the word AI or artificial intelligence is too broad. So, you have to narrow it down. Hence, they say it has to have its own definition now. And then they also say that um, they should not use the term artificial intelligence. And in our case, in this case, we're talking about regulators now. People who want to regulate AI. They shouldn't use the term artificial intelligence for regulated purposes because there is no definition of AI which meets the requirements for legal definitions. Instead, they should define certain designs, use cases, or capabilities following a risk-based approach. So, for instance, if you are to create um, an application that will be AI driven. Of course, initially you'll be talking, everything that you'll be talking about, it will be based on AI. You'll be using the word AI. But then the moment you complete the project, you're not going to say AI anymore. You might say AI driven, but then you give it a name. A simple example. We have, the institutional repository, something that everyone might actually relate to. It's actually a DSpace software platform and open source. But then, in order for people within the UFS community to understand what DSpace is, you can't keep on saying DSpace. You need to give it a friendly name, like Coffee Scholar or institutional repository, whatever the case. It's no longer DSpace as much it is a software, DSpace. But then you want to give it something that you can actually point or to and say that is an institutional repository. So that's what they were basically saying here. And then in continuation again, every regulation needs to define its scope of application as it determines whether or not a regulation is applicable in a particular case. We know nowadays there is issues with regulating AI. People talking about policies that are not in place and so on and so forth. But imagine this: if we, as the UFS, collaboratively were to sit down, and of course discuss AI, but then come up with an idea that can actually be implemented to say we're going to create something that is AI driven. Um, but then we need to give it a name and why it has to be regulated or why we need to, you know, uh, develop that kind of an application or whatever the case. But then it has to have a specific purpose. That's why you have to give it that particular name. So you don't just use the overall. Anyway, so the author claims that the term artificial is used for many different systems and it isn't any one thing. It can actually refer to systems that navigate self-driving, cars, as we know, Mercedes-Benz, they've produced some crazy cars that can actually drive themselves for a certain period of time. But that is AI driven. That is, AI kind of, auto-encoded feature that is within that software that, that manages that car. It's encoded within, the car itself. So it's automatic, which means now you can't say AI. You have to give it a name. So that's basically what they're saying to narrow it down. Video games and so on. There's quite a number of, examples that we can list. But the idea is that whatever you do, as much as it might be, AI driven, but it has to have a specific name and a purpose. And that's how you can actually regulate. And then they say, from a regulatory perspective, these systems have very different risk profiles and therefore should be treated differently. They claim that the term is highly ambiguous, so it's actually, too broad, like I said earlier. And then Schwed goes on to say, even the meaning changes over time as soon as it wakes. What, no one calls it AI anymore. The very example I just mentioned, you create a product, you give it a purpose, but then after that, as soon as you see the results of what you have created, you no longer say AI. As much as there is AI within the software or encoded within that application, but you no longer say that's AI. Let's go and use AI because it's actually a broad term. There's quite a number of ways we can use AI. So you narrow it down, give it a purpose, and in that way it can even be easy now to regulate or, create policies that govern that kind of, application. Now, I believe, Cornell did mention a few, um, areas that are actually implemented. And these are actually, things if you are a librarian or maybe being in the academic environment, you know that we deal with data every day. It doesn't matter how you deal with, but it's data. It could be retrieving, it could be processing, but these are things that take place. And that is why we have the issues or the questions that Lee was asking now, because people want to find information. And in order to find that information, you need to have a super kind of an application that will attend to those. So that's why I gave the title Key Areas Where AI is Being Implemented. And we listed information retrieval and discovery. The application that I will share in a few minutes that you can actually use or a student can use, even the librarian that can, use to simplify your search, processes for, for students, or maybe to even, sorry, to recommend. But the problem is not all these softwares are actually open source. Some of them you have to pay money. But, going back now to what I said earlier, imagine if you have that idea and you collaborate, with the intention of building something that can actually do what you want as the institution. Anyway, and then we have collection management and curation. Librarians will relate to that. User assistants and chatbots. These are things we use on a daily basis, but sometimes you might not understand that others are actually AI driven. These are, some of them. Data analytics or data analysis and visualization. At one point, we had a student who wanted us to help her with NVivo. NVivo is one of their analytical tools, and it's actually, uh, I would say, it's auto encoded or it has auto encoded features because the moment you use the application, you can actually navigate and filter a few functions so that it gives you the analytics you're looking for. Those are applications that are available, but sometimes you might not understand that they are AI driven. Remember, AI is just a simulation of a human intelligence. Whatever you think you could do, you plant it into a machine so that the machine can actually, do that for you without having to be behind that particular machine or application. And it's faster. Like, Lee said, you get more than what you can get now, like 10 times, in terms of the results or speed. And then personalized services. At one point, you'd understand, or maybe you might be familiar with this. This is simple. Sometimes you do searches on your Google and you make a mistake, or maybe not really a mistake, but then you log into your browser using your Gmail or whatever account you would have used, and you do your searches for the day, and then you log your computer off or shut down. Then you come back tomorrow a few hours early. When you log in, there are some crazy pop-ups on your machine, and they've got that data, a few searches that you actually did in the previous day or a few hours earlier. So that is the use of AI, and that's how it works in nowadays. And now I listed a few end user benefits, and funny enough, these are actually more or less the same as what Lee was mentioning in Cornell. They improve, user experience and accessibility. You'll see when we demonstrate a few of these tools just in a sec. That's what they do. They are meant to be faster. They are meant to generate more information than a human being can. If you're a librarian, you can actually focus on one student at a time, training them on how to do searches and all. But then if you train them on or maybe build an application or platform that can actually attend to these 10 people at the same time, can get the same results, because that is the main idea behind the machine. Not to really replace, but to make things quicker. So it improves user experience and accessibility, and it enhances efficiency and productivity. Decision making, of course, there are some applications that we use to analyze data. I mentioned a few that is usually used by researchers. And Vivo, you've got SPSS, you've got Atlas TI. Those applications, they've got they've got encoded features that are AI driven as well. So they make things very easy, and it's easy to make decision out of the results that we would have gotten from that particular application or software. And they help with innovation as well, and expansion of research support capabilities. Instead now of having one or two librarians attending to 20 students, having this platform can actually minimize that. You can actually train them, and then that very thing you were gonna do or you would have done today, just by training a few individuals or 20 of them, they can just do that now by themselves, depending now on how, the software is trained, because of course they all have to be trained. All right. Now, at this point, because if you remember, I said I'm not going to dwell more on, on explaining AI. Instead, I want to showcase just a little. We're not going to take too much time, but I'm just going to show you how these platforms works. Like for instance, just before we do that, let me just quickly go through it. We have one called Quillbot. It's AI powered, application, which is used for paraphrasing, anything. It could be a sentence, it could be an abstract, anything you want paraphrased. This actually could be one of the tools. It's one of the best. But now, like I said earlier, most of these are not open source. You actually need to have or to pay. The free version of the application would give you limited, options and functionalities. Sometimes it limits the data that you can capture, but they're very good. But the idea behind showcasing these is so that at one point we don't just keep on, presenting these beautiful tools, but we engage. We've got a lot of stakeholders within the university, CTL, the library, with Makerspace. We've got University ICT. We've got engineering department. There's quite a lot of departments, and if we can maybe just get together and explore and then build one of these, imagine what we can achieve tomorrow. Anyway, so you've got the second one would be language tool. It's AI based, as well, or AI driven. It focuses on spelling, the style, the grammar, it checks all that. Fortunately, this one is it's open source, so you can take advantage of that language tool. And this is the address where you can find the application. And then the next one is Oristica. Most of these, or let me say, all of these are AI powered, you know. Now, the good thing about this one, the Oristica, you actually go to the site, and unfortunately or fortunately, you have to log in. You need to create a profile so that it can remember you at one point. You don't want to be, because if you don't log in, it won't give you as much access as it would if you had logged in. So the heuristic is actually on point because you just type in a keyword, and then from that keyword you can just do some sort of a mind mapping. You keep a keyword and it gives you options, where you can just say elaborate on the topic. What does it mean? Explain on the topic. You've got options on the right hand side. You'll see in a few minutes later. But you've got quite a number of options where, for instance, if you're struggling with your, a topic, a research topic, you can actually, generate maybe two or three topics, and then you place them on Auristic, and then you ask, the platform to explain, to elaborate, and sometimes to even give you a few researches on that particular or relating to your topic. So that's how good AI has become in nowadays. And then you've got explain paper. Now, this one uses advanced natural language processing, and it actually analyzes research papers. It's AI driven as well. It analyzes research papers. You can actually load a document and it would explain it to you. It gives you certain, um, uh, panels, where it can even give you, the methodology that is used in the document, the references, related sources to the publication. These are crazy, applications or tools that are very useful for researchers. But now it always goes back to, the point I made where I said they are not all free. You have like a free, option with limited, functionalities. But then the idea is not just to present and explore, but to explore and provoke people so that at the end of the day we come up with a better idea instead of presenting, but we come up with something that you'll be, you know for the University of the Free State or for them crazy communities, based on their needs. And then you've got perplexity. This is more like a chatbot as well, but it actually focuses on research as well. It converses with you, you know, more like ChatGPT if you're familiar with ChatGPT. But now this one is a bit, advanced because it can actually, pull you to some crazy, sources like reliable sources and so on. And it actually gives you, links to an article, like a reliable article, not this junk that you'd find online or propaganda, but these are on point. So just check it out as well. And then the last two would be Microsoft Copilot. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but this is also more like a chatbot. It's developed by Microsoft, and as you can see there, it was launched in 2003. Unfortunately, it's not, free as well. You have to pay a certain fee in order to get all the features. They give you a trial. I think it's like a month, but you can explore. But the idea, like I said, for the 20th time, explore these platforms, see how they work, and then at one point we sit down and come up with something better than what we're actually looking at today. So I'm not going to explain ChatGPT because I believe most of you are familiar. Now, the only problem with this one, as much as it can give you, answers and so on, but it never gives you any, citations or link, that you can actually refer to say, oh, so there was actually a publication on this topic. It doesn't do that, but it's very helpful. So you just need to understand how to go about it. So now, if the program director allows me, I like to stop sharing so that I can just show you a little. I'm not going to be long, just to demonstrate how this platform works. We might not go through all of them, but at least just to have that crazy, taste of, AI in play. Just one sec. All right. I'd like to believe that you can all see my screen there. I hope you can. So what we have here is actually one of these applications I was telling you about. This one is called Quillbot. And like I said, it can actually paraphrase, sentences and all. And the good thing about it, it maintains the original meaning of whatever source. It could be an article or it could be a thesis, but it maintains that originality. So sometimes you're going through something, but you're finding it difficult to relate because of the weights or selection of keywords that are being used in an abstract or whatever the publication or part of it. So this is, I could say, this is a go-to. And you see at the top right or at your top right, you've got an option where you can upgrade to premium. Now, upgrading to premium means you're gonna have to pay. So you see here on the left panel, these are the functions that you would have. With the premium option, you can actually, check grammar. You can also do a plagiarism checker. It can actually summarize. It can translate. It can generate citations of, or whatever publication you would be looking at. And, that's how crazy, sorry, that's how advanced um, you know, um, that's how far AI has gone to. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna quickly take something from our institutional repository, just so you can see the power of this crazy tool. I'll take, for instance, this thesis. This was, issued in 2013, and I'm not gonna take everything. I'm just gonna take just this part. Or we can even go as far as, taking the title and then we paste it. And then at the bottom, you've got an option or function or button that says paraphrase. You click on paraphrase and then you give it time. Now you see, it says here, effective integrated development plans in a transforming local government in South Africa. Efficient integrated development strategies. And now, if you look at these highlighted, it can actually, if you click on one of these, it can give you, you know, synonyms, efficient, effective, productive, profitable, and so on. That's how crazy it is. You click on the next one, you can see, this is the power of this platform, or should I say, the power of AI, African, you know. Okay, now that one doesn't bring anything, but that's how crazy it is. And you can also check the grammar, you know you can check the grammar. And you see on the left, it says you change preposition. Instead of in, you should say for. So those are things sometimes you can actually look at as you're busy, say, with your, research topic. So this is just, I'm not going to go through everything. Now, other functions are locked because this is just a trial. I don't have the premium, option on this platform. So the second one, it's language tool. So the language tool, will check the spelling, the grammar, and so on. So I'm not going to demonstrate this one, but it's very easy to use as well. And the good thing about it is that it is open source. It's an open source, so you don't need to pay anything. All you need to do is create a profile. Of course, there is always, a premium option. If you look on the way down, bottom right, sorry, bottom left, there is a premium option. If you click, it gives you these, and so these would be the option if you want to actually explore the whole thing. And look at that. It's actually 58 rands 43 cents a month. So that's something you can actually take advantage of. But the idea is not to spend on these, but to explore so that at the end of the day, we bring our heads together, we come up with something that can perform almost something similar to what we're seeing on the screen. And then the third one is actually called Horistica. Now, the good thing about this one, um, let me see, I just want to get a text that I can actually use as an example so you see how it works. All right, I'm just going to paste here. So, what I'm pasting is experiences of teachers on hearing impairment learners. So, I'm just going to click on that and then we'll let it run for a minute. Now, once you paste in your keyword here, now it will tell you what you have pasted. Now, at the top right, you've got all these buttons that you can, click. You've got new, you've got what, how, who, elaborate, research. So I'm just gonna tick, maybe click one button and say elaborate. Now, notice this. As soon as I click elaborate, it brings up a pop-up. Now, this window will generate information that elaborates about that topic you would have typed. And if you click add to concept map, it will do that. So you can actually move that. You can do that. And then if you click something else, we say, for instance, research or maybe links, you can click any of these. And then now the problem with these is that since uh, you have to have a premium in order to have access to these. Otherwise, if you had full access, you can actually get links or books or recent developments on that particular subject, and even on YouTube. So all of these functions are actually locked. But if you had, or have a premium, you're able to be, given the whole description on all the publication pertaining your, your keyword or your search topic there. Let's see when we say example. Now you see it gives you an example, and you can add that concept map or that window into that, and you check. You see, so you can add as many of these buttons as you want in order to understand your topic better. Imagine you're doing your crazy, you're busy on with your literature review, and you want to understand more about what people actually meant when they were publishing a particular, article. So that is the power of AI, or AI driven discoveries, or tools, whatever you want to call them. And then you've got uh, this one. Now, they call this uh, explain paper. Now, what happens with this one is that it actually allows you to load a PDF. And upon loading a PDF, you can just highlight something and it will explain quite a lot. Let's go quickly and see if we can load something just so you can see how this thing works. This is crazy, I'm telling you. So now I've just loaded a random document. And then from there, I'm just going to say begin reading. So as soon as I say begin reading, it will load the document. Let's give you time to do that. Now, if you remember, I didn't type in the title of this article. I just loaded the document. So what I'm going to do now is just to highlight maybe the abstract. Let's see if we highlight all of this. Now, when I highlighted, I didn't press anything. Uh, don't do that. Why do you want to disappoint me now? All right. So I'm going to say on the right hand side, I'm going to say explain. Uh, Now you see, if you click on explain, it gives you a list of related sources. And these are reliable sources that you can actually use. I just clicked on one of them now. You see, identifying the challenges in SCM evidence from Mangaung Petro. Let's go back a little. Uh, I would say all other options are actually locked, but it can actually give you quite a lot. And the only thing you would need to do is just to highlight a text within the document and it will be explained. It will be explained to you. So I guess my trial is actually has lapsed because they give you a certain period to explore the whole, most of the functionalities. But it explains to you, it gives you all the option. It even goes as far as, telling you, the methodology that was, applied in the document. That's how crazy the platform is. It is on point. And that is the power of artificial intelligence. Now I'm going to skip over to another one. This one is called size place, also size space, whatever you want to call it. But it also explores and explains papers. It also gives you a list of, papers. I'm just going to use a simple example. In my case, I deal with the institutional repository. So I'm just going to say research, uh, really, on institutional repository. And then I'll hit enter. Now let's wait. Now what it does is that it took my keywords because I said research on institutional repository. And if you check here on the left, you've got, topics or articles, and these are open source, as you can see. These are open source, these are reliable sources that one can use, all the way down. Um, And if you now these would be your sources and they are on institutional repository as well. If you go all the way down, you'll see that. So it gives you at least, it doesn't take you far away. And then it also, the next panel, it gives you an insight. It explains institutional repositories offer co-effective and sustainable access to research information. You can go all the way down, and then it explains even more. And then even here, this one as well give you methodologies and so on. You see here it says methods used, so you can actually go through that, and you can even export here if you want that in many formats. You can export the data to maybe your reference tool and so on, even to a CSV. So there's quite a lot that you can do on this platform. And if you click here and on the left, there's quite a few options as well that you can use. You see here, it says citation generator. It can generate, and as you can see, I'm not telling lies here. These are reliable sources. If we were to click maybe one of them, let's just go to that. So for me, these are powerful tools, that are AI driven and that one can actually use. These are reliable. And you see, this is, it was recently published, not so long ago, 2023, last year, this thing was published. So this is just an point. And as you can see here, we're not talking about 1995. These are 2023, 22, 2020, 19. These are the sources one can actually use. And again, if you come here, you can even paraphrase, some of these, maybe in abstract or whatever, that you feel you don't really, maybe you need simpler explanation or whatever the case. But you've got all these options. So the point is, these are tools that are available out there as much as they are not freely available. But these are things we can actually start on to explore. And then later on, we put our heads together. We then, develop something. Right. Well, now there is this one. This one is called Perplexity. It's an AI, kind of powered research or chatbot, if you want to call it that. The good thing about this one is that it can actually even give you links as well. It's as powerful as this one, the size space. It's very powerful as well. So you can type, whatever you want to type or you want to explore, and it will give you information on that. I'm going to give you an example. Not so long ago, as you know, we upgraded our Quapsi Scholar sometime end of 2023. And, as we're busy with that, we had some crazy hiccups because, some commands or the scripts that would run on the old DSpace or Quapsi Scholar wouldn't really apply. You'd have to tweak it a little in order for it to apply on this new or latest version of DSpace or Quapsi Scholar. So now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell this platform Perplexity to give me a script. Now, a script, in simple terms, is just steps. It's just steps that one can follow in order to produce something. Like for instance, if you are loading thesis onto Course Scholar, you can actually use an application. And in order to use the application, you need to apply certain commands within your machine. There are certain applications that you would need to install. But then in doing that, using those applications, you apply the so-called script, certain steps that you need to, or commands. One comes after the other in that manner. You cannot say two goes before one. One has to be one and then two, three, all the way until you get the results. So, simple example, I'm going to say script to auto restart. So, save for D space 7. Now, let me quickly explain here. DSpace is the Copsys Scholar software that we use as our institutional repository. Now, the Solar server is one of the servers that the platform or the software application uses. Now, the script, we're actually telling the platform to give us step-by-step guide that we can use to restart the server without actually having to come in the morning and restart the server so that Copsys Scholar can actually start. We had that and we got, we're working on the script. So we shouldn't be having any downtimes, concerning Copsys Scholar. But anyway, the point is I want this to give me a script that would help me, restart the solar server on DSpace 7. So I'm going to say search, or you can hit enter. Now, as you can see here, it gives you all this to create a script that auto restarts the source server for DSpace. So you can follow these steps. Now, going back to what I said, now a script is just a simple way. These crazy articles, they've got this tendency of using, these beautiful big words that would take you some time to understand. But in simple terms, it's just steps that one can use to run a program. Anyway, so you see here, it gives you all the command. This is a script. Now, the good thing about a script is that you don't even have to be typing. You can actually copy and paste. If you see here, you can copy and paste a script onto your environment, your development environment, and you tweak whatever you need to tweak. Of course, you need to change a few or phrases in here in order for it to relate to your environment. But the point is it gives you that. But I want you to see as we go all the way down, it gives you these are step by step, and as you can see, this is number 3, number 4, and number 4 cannot go before number 3. It has to be in this order. So if you go all the way, and then it says here related how to install Solar. So if you click here, it actually gives you discussions that were held about the very same subject, you know. And if you click here, it will take you to some crazy communities, conversations on communities that were, focusing or discussing the auto restart of the solar on this space. So that is the power of what they call AI. Now, and then you've got, I believe this would be the last to second last. This is a Microsoft Copilot platform. It's more like a chatbot of some sort as well. That is auto, um, let me say that is AI driven as well or powered. This is on point. Unfortunately, it's also not free. The worst thing about this one is that it wants you to pay immediately. And when I checked, at one point, I think they wanted to charge me like 400 rands. It's not that bad. I mean, if you really want to use the application, it's not that bad. But yeah, so it can actually, respond. It's so advanced. It's actually even better than ChatGPT. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is these are tools that are available that we can actually take advantage of. You go to the trial version or the free version of the application, you explore and explore and explore until you find, of course, there will be limitation because it's not a premium, but once you download this one immediately, Microsoft would prompt you to actually buy the premium so that you can, and they give you all the nice features to say, if you do that, you'll be able to do this. There won't be any limitations on the results and so on and so forth. So these are the nice tools that one can use for research. Now, in this case, most of these or all of these tools that can actually not just give you results, but they can also point you to a reliable source. They give you references. You can even generate citations from these platforms. It's on point. And what's crazy is that last week there was a workshop, I think at MR2. And during that workshop, there was a student that came here into my office, and the student were like, "Look, I don't want to be here as much as I am here today, but I didn't want to come here. I'm only confessing because I want information on this and that, and I do not want to be bouncing around databases, going to EBSCOs, JSTOR, and so on and so forth. I'm looking for one thing that can actually generate everything at one, and then also explain whatever I would be looking at." And I was like, "Oh shit, we do not have that." We do not have that. And then I started showing her some of these tools. And, she was excited, but disappointed at the same time because we have to pay for these, platform. But, well, the point here, before I make the point, let me go to the last one. The last one is actually ChatGPT. Now, you are aware of this one. Um, so it's pretty much, a chatbot as well that can actually give you answers as well, but it doesn't give you references or link you to citations. It just gives you an overview or general overview, which might be or might not be true. But the rest, they're on point because they point you exactly to where you can find, you know, an authentic source that has references, reliable sources. All right. Well, colleagues, without a waste of your time, um, my job here today was just to showcase a few tools that we can actually take advantage of. Hopefully, tomorrow we'll explore and come up with an idea and, you know, make it work for us. Anyway, um, thank you so much for listening, and thank you again, Program Director, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vuyo. Um, yeah, this was a very informative presentation. I just want to say it's funny how AI has affected all of us. In the beginning, we would hear complaints from lecturers about how students are plagiarizing, but then as librarians and support staff as well, you realize you also have to keep up with the AI and learn the technologies because students come to you for inquiries and things like that. I did ask, there was a question in the comment directed to Mr. Lee when they asked, are there any concerns, since he interacts a lot with students, are there any concerns that he has when it comes to AI and working with students? But I think this question I will direct to all three of you to just give your opinion on it. And then, secondly, we do have another comment from, oh, Cornell did answer some from Miss Zonika Kotze. Um, I will also give the floor just 2 minutes to Miss Zonika to just raise her point. Just to summarize basically what she was saying, but she was giving an opinion on how she likes that these presentations are student centered, but she's also worried about the paid premiums because it creates a barrier between those that can afford it and those that do not. This just goes to show the business that is actually behind the AI tool. So before giving to the presenters, I would like Ms. Sonika to just, if you may, just yes, repeat your suggestion, actually your comment to the floor.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. No, I just wanted to thank everybody for the efforts in this presentation and for showing us how AI can be used in order to help students. And I think that's my greatest concern, helping students, but also I loved how a clear distinction was made between using it as an assistant or a tool and over reliance. That's my greatest fear. And we presented a whole session last week, or the last session that was presented, about what the dangers are of over-relying, not just for student texts and the quality of the student text that might be produced through over-reliance on AI, but also the effects that this will have on the student voice. Our students have so much to say. They really have the possibility to change scholarly thinking, and for them to be silenced through over-reliance really breaks my heart. And what also breaks my heart is the fact that, as we said before, that many of the premium products, which I presume are the better products, are will need somebody to pay for them. So students will have to pay in order to access this, and their knowledge and efficacy becomes a commodity. So I am still not sure how I feel about everything, because I do want our students to go out there and change the world, and change scholarly discourse and contribute to scholarly discourse. I'm just super, super worried about the fact that algorithms and machine learning might influence this one day. But I am also of the opinion that we need to know what is going on in order to warn students about the dangers, but also in order to help students, so that they can one day contribute, or currently contribute, whichever is soonest. And I think that's why I am at the university, in order to help students tell the world what it is that they want to say. So yeah, many a thought, many a feeling. You shouldn't have given me the microphone, but thank you so much. Also for the library, for what you do for students already, and how you help them formulate their voices in order to contribute to scholarly discourse. Thanks, everyone.
No, thank you. Your opinion matters. Yes, I would hand over now to Ganel, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Vio to sum up the whole session for us.
If I may, I'd also like to comment on Zonika's words on over-reliance, because their session was, I've attended more than one session where they spoke about that, and it's always kind of eye-opening and almost mind-blowing to see how they help the students, and how it makes you aware of the over-reliance. And even with, so there are obviously some applications in the library that where that does not have such a big impact. But I'm thinking about my own use of AI in admin tasks, or in writing a quick letter, or helping me write something like terms of reference. And it reminds me of, I think, the first AI sandbox that I attended, where somebody mentioned that it's obviously very good for that. Just be careful that it doesn't push your terms of reference, your SOPs, your policies, in a direction that you don't necessarily want it to go. And that's kind of the same threat as to academic writing, is that you become so reliant on it writing for you that you don't notice the bias that is in there. And then I also just want to say that I think it's sometimes easier for us as experienced librarians, having worked pre-AI, and writing pre-AI, to notice the difference in the writing, to notice that it's not our voice, to notice that you need to edit and add your expertise. But to Zonika's point is that an undergraduate student won't have that experience. So it is so much more of a threat to their voice than it is to ours. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, Yeah, if I may chip in as well, I mean, the over reliance is actually scary, for me, because I was actually thinking about it when I showed the student how some of these tools actually work, and she was excited, but then we bumped into the premium. And I was thinking, when they introduced the antiviruses, they came up with computers, and then they introduced little by little a virus, and then they come up with an antivirus that would actually fix or destroy that virus you would have encountered. And then later on, 2 days later, they come up with a bigger virus that would overpower I mean, a virus that would overpower the antivirus that you would have bought previously. And this one now is, advertised or commended to be the best, but now the price is actually going up as well. Going back to these, they're on point, easy to use. At one point, we'll rely on them, as everyone has said. And imagine now if they were to shut down everything, and then no one now is able to do nothing because they relied more on these crazy, you know, tools. But for me, as much there is danger, I think it also, gives us, that room to actually think about what we can do about it as the university, if maybe we have the power to do that. Like I said earlier on, exploring and combining, ideas together and see what we can build that students can actually use, but then with the idea in mind that this might not be there tomorrow, but it's easy to use, and, it's effective and all that. So, yeah, everything is scary in this era. Thank you.
Colleague, yeah,
Yes.
thank you for the opportunity. Um, I think we should just distinguish between how we use or what purpose we're using it for. Cornell indicated using it for report writing, and we've seen all the different platforms. The reality is we see challenges with from primary school where student or learners already cannot read and write. How they get through the system and eventually get into university without being able to read and write are the questions we need to ask. And when they're in university, still not able to read and write, does is this AI already contributing? As I mentioned in the previous session we had, where secondary school students already indicated that they use AI for the assignments. They're already using it at secondary level. So my question would be, how do we complement this? And I did respond to a question in the chatbot. I would encourage use AI to find the sources to do your assignment, to make your argument, but do not use AI to write for you because that can quickly be determined what you're doing. In the assignment, you're going to do very well. And when you get into an exam where you have to sit and physically write, then immediately that disconnect is there because AI can't help you in your assignment. So it boils back to what the university is all about, teaching and learning. So what does the student eventually learn? Whether using AI or not using AI. And I want to agree with Zonica, it is concerning because we want students to want to write, um, to use their own writing, not using a AI tool to do the writing. Because that if you're using AI is then depleting the critical thinking part, and so on. So yeah, that world exists, AI exists, students will use it. The question is, how do we encourage them differently? Or how do we start assessing differently? Because those tools are going to be there. How do we assess differently to ensure that in all these processes and all these tools, that there's still critical thinking, there's still academic writing, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much.
And Lee, the scary part is that, I mean, that's a good question. But now the scary part is that we've got all these tools right in front of our faces. And the moment a student realizes that it's so easy, something that can take me like an hour or two, I can do it in 2 minutes. They get accustomed to that. And that over reliance, again, going back to that word, over reliance, sticks to that person. And believe me, it's not easy. That's $1 million question that you just asked. I have no idea, but it's crazy.
Yeah, no, this is very interesting. Thank you so much. I'm going to cut the session now because today we really did make use of the 2 hours, and I would like to give a special thanks to Cornell, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Vuyo. Thank you for availing yourselves for this presentation. It is good to hear all different perspectives of AI on campus, not only from the academic side, but also support as well. So, yes, thank you. All this will be posted on the LibGuide under the AI assisted technology for education. The video will also be uploaded probably by next week. So, thank you so much for the session, and until we meet on another session again.